Well, hello there. So here we are with another one of these draw character arts with me videos, or like draw fan arts with me. They're basically the same thing. If you've seen my other videos, I've explained that fandom life chose me. Today we are delving into that galaxy far, far away again. ANDOR Season 2. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time now. I need to calibrate my enthusiasm right now. Probably that haven't watched ANDOR yet. So ANDOR is basically about the rise of the Rebel Alliance against Palpatine's empire, ultimately leading up to the events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It also explores different aspects of like what a rebellion or like what a revolution means to like different people, different communities. This timing is a little strange because like I drew a fan art of the women of ANDOR a few days ago. So I'm just gonna put in clips of me drawing that when I talk about like ANDOR in general. And then when we get into this like specific episodes, I'm gonna start a new fan art. Today I'm actually going to draw Mon Mothma from ANDOR. She is a senator and she became one of the leaders of the rebellion. She's just such a beacon for the rebellion, like a beacon of hope or something. She is just such a poised woman and her elegance just radiates through her entire like on-screen presence. Yeah. There's this really pivotal moment towards the beginning of the show where she sort of loses herself. She had a mental breakdown while getting drunk and dancing during her daughter's like a wedding party. A really like thrilling but also heartbreaking moment. So yeah, this is a picture that I'm gonna draw. Before when I draw characters, when I draw fan arts, they're like pretty clear figures, like still and clear figures, and sometimes they're portraits and stuff, really detailed. But this time I just wanted to try something new. I wanted to like really show her movement, just like her, you know, how to describe it. Like I am also going to use watercolor today. Yeah, I feel like that's how I can really capture that sort of atmospheric vibe. I'm not even sure if this is watercolor paper. Personally, I liked season 2 a little bit more than season 1, but I do really like season 1 as well. And when I was watching ANDOR season 1, when I was like watching ANDOR for the first time, like I'd forget that I'm watching a Star Wars show. Like it's just so different in the best way possible. Like it just feels like something that actually happened in the world, because it's basically like so closely based on our world. There's like this weight, there's this momentum in ANDOR that like I feel like is really special. The first thing I want to say about ANDOR season 2 is that I actually loved the structure. I read comments about people who were like, before watching, were like worried about the structure. They had 12 episodes in total for season 2, and it's divided into like 4 story arcs. Each story arc is 3 episodes. Between every story arc there is a 1-year jump, and by the time it reaches the last story arc, it's like really close to when Rogue One happened. And I thought that was like really clever. With that structure, it's like all the highlights of the rebellion written into like one really developed and thrilling season. I really like the pacing of it actually. It did not feel like too rushed or packed or anything, and I feel like it amplified growth and change of the characters and of the rebellion. And then there's like also like such meticulous and such well thought out structures within the episodes. Obviously episodes have a structure, but like I just really like that of ANDOR. More than anything else, I just loved the intercutting between each storyline and then it all building up. It just like really showed like each individual character or like each group of characters like different rebellions depending on their circumstance. In like one single episode we will see like distinct events on different planets that like juxtapose and reinforce one another. For example, like in the third episode, I think, so at the end of the first story arc, we see like Mon Mothma's husband, like Perrin, giving that speech at the wedding party. Ostensibly it's like emphasizing joy, and at the same time we see like intercut between these scenes, we see Bix and the farmers like literally fighting for their lives. But like despite like the vastly different circumstances, the main characters in both storylines, like in Bix's and in Mon Mothma's, they're both like so suffocating for the central characters. I don't think this is watercolor paper anymore. Anyway, but I do have to mention The only episode that doesn't intercut between different worlds, between different storylines on different planets, is episode 8, which is Who Are You? The Gorman Massacre episode. It's either like set exclusively on Gorman or like very nearly exclusively on Gorman. And like when I thought about that, I feel like it really showed how like Gorman, it's the center of all the galaxy's attention, the Empire's attention, but at the same time, it's like completely isolated and from the rest of the world, from the rest of the galaxy, and no one's like helping them, and the Gormans are so alone in this fight. It's like almost claustrophobic. Like I'm like exaggerating here, but it's like it sort of gives sort of that feeling of being like you're just like stuck here. And also we don't see the reactions of the massacre. Like we can see the immediate reactions of the characters, but then we don't see reactions of other people from other planets. Like we don't see those reactions until the next episode. The pacing is so good for that episode. I was like really engaged the whole time. Well, like not the whole time. I had to like pause and then message my friend who's seen it already, like exclaiming stuff like, oh my god, he died. And the final thing I'm going to talk about for Andor's structure is that I loved how like at the beginning of season 2, like each storyline started out separately. All strings of the rebellion sort of scattered across the universe at the start, and then they ultimately like joined together at the fulcrum at Yavin 4, and it's just like
I'm so happy for the rebellion.
The more I paint on this, the more I don't think I'm using the right sort of paper. Oh, too late to turn back now. Too late for second guessing. Close my eyes and leave.
Wrong universe.
Now let's talk about some of my personal like favorite moments from my favorite episodes. So for the first episode, I love like films and like just shows and stuff beginning like in medias res. It just hooks us right in. And from that episode, I also loved the like long shot of Mon outside their estate, like greeting all the guests for the wedding, and then ultimately like meeting Luthen. We see her like minute like expression changes, and I just felt like that long shot was just such a smart way of like showing her stress, how like she has no moment to like take a breath, to rest, to think about this all. It's just all unfolding around her, and she just had to accommodate to that and just like put on this smile all the time. And then episode 3, which is the climax of the first story arc, that was like when the wedding happened, and we really see cycles, like how things like generational trauma and stuff and traditions like sustains and repeats itself, how history book on the shelf is always repeating itself, you know? Yeah, it's just like it's so sad. It's not like the life and death of like Rebels, but like it's still like a really significant and like regrettable moment. I feel like Genevieve's acting, she really captured like that sort of feeling of suffocation and like restraint so well. And when she had the breakdown, it was like cathartic, but it was also really sad. How do I get rid of my evidence? Pencil evidence. Episode 6 was one of my favorite episodes. I feel like it's kind of underrated. There's like so much going on in episode 6. It's like the climax before the Gorman climax. So like the main storylines, we see Clea at the Coruscant party, her trying to take out the listening device that they planted. Her doing that, like the acting, oh my god, just her determination that she is going to take that device out. It's just all like show and not tell. We see like the blood flowing out between her fingers. It was just so like filled with tension. I just love her decisiveness and her like composure in the face of like these sort of crises. And Clea also kind of like, she sort of reminds me of Leia. They have this like sort of fierceness about them. I've seen this picture on Pinterest, like they're the daughters of the rebellion, and it's just like, and also the other major thing that happened in episode 6 was of course the insurgency of like stealing the Empire's like weaponry or something that was like pretty much doomed from the start, because like the ISB knew what they were doing and they were counting on them to do it. And then Vel and Cinta were part of it. During like their reunion, I was like, yes, but also no. They just have this like tragic, like doomed thing about them. When Vel was giving the briefing to the Gorman people about the plan, I just knew there's no way they're all making out of this. Ugh. But then takes his swift revenge on Dr. Gorst. That was thrilling. Power couple. So yeah, there were like so many elements in episode 6 that are worth mentioning, and I really liked that episode. And then the episode Who Are You? My friend who also loves Andor, when she was talking about the show before I watched it, she was like, oh my god, Andor peaked at episode 8 and then it just kept peaking. She was so right. It was about the Gorman massacre. I talked about it briefly. I feel like aside from the structure, another thing I really want to talk about from the episode was Cyril's fight with Cassian and Cyril's ultimate like demise. It was such an intense moment. I feel like Cyril, I know he's like, of course he's really flawed, like especially when Andor asks Cyril like, who are you? Like genuinely so confused. Like the title of the episode, it's like in one way we can interpret it as like Cyril's identity is completely like unknown by this man. It's like under the regime, like Cyril and a lot of other people, they're just like pawns for the Empire. No one from those higher positions actually care about who people in the subordinate positions are, only what you can do and what you stand for. It can also like sort of suggest like Cyril across the 2 seasons like really struggling about who he is actually, what he stands for. Like, who are you? Like, what do you believe in? What do you stand for? Where are you supposed to be? And like he sort of juggles between that. Like he's just so trying so hard to get recognized and failing to do so, and being like appreciated by this cold, callous Empire that basically cares about no one. I feel like he was sort of like swayed by the Gorman people. He was sort of moved by them, but then he's also want to prove himself, so he would like hurt them, and it's just like, but then he also is not sure what he's actually doing, because like the energy program is a lie and stuff. It's just like really like convoluted when the distance between what is said and what is known to be true is an abyss. Like it's just like, who are you? So yeah, who am I? 2 4 Okay, I make a lot of impulsive decisions when I draw. What the heck did I do here? What? I need to like draw a lot more before I talk about episode 9, because like once I start talking about episode 9, guys, now let's talk about episode 9. Welcome to the Rebellion. Also one of the climaxes of the show, the end of the 3rd story arc.
And it's one of my favorite episodes of all time.
It was just like so satisfying watching the episode, because like I watched Rogue One before and they're both in Rogue One, so I know that they must have survived. So Mon Mothma, she gave the speech calling out Palpatine finally, acknowledging the Gorman massacre. Before all that, she was like pretty subtle with the things she's trying to say, and sort of like holding back always a little. But like now, she's like not holding back anymore. She is like, there's no way I'm holding back anymore. I'm slaying like the queen of... She's like letting it go. She's like, I'm just gonna stop with these Adina references, because it was such like a decisive moment of the show. Like I loved the visual storytelling of it initially. Like when she first started her speech, it was sort of like a wide shot. We see like all the pods and all the audience and people that are judging her, watching her, waiting for things that she's gonna say to like call her out and stuff. We feel her pressure with all these people beholding her, and then it just gradually, the camera just gradually closes in on her, on Mon Mothma's face. It like corresponds to like what she was saying at the beginning of her speech. She was sort of like acknowledging all these people that are like watching her. As her speech developed, as she was speaking, like she's starting to get into the issue she's talking about, like the actual thing that needing of attention, Gorman and also the Empire. The camera closes in on her. She's no longer so self-conscious, and she's like just owning her right to be there, and it's like her right to talk about these things. It's more centralized, it's more focusing on her face. I guess she was also starting to, you know, feel more confident throughout the speech, and the camera angle change really demonstrated that episode. It was also intercut between different things going on, but like present through all of these like different intercut, different moments. The voiceover, we hear the voiceover throughout it all. In any film, in any show, I just personally love it when voiceover becomes like non-diegetic and sort of seeps into other scenes, because it's like so relevant. And yeah, again, they managed to make Mon and Cassian's escape so like tense, even though I knew they both made it.
At the end of the day, I love Mon Mothma.
Like, I love all the women, and I love Cassia too. Okay, and then the last 3 episodes, like from the last story arc, we have to talk about all 3 of them, because they, as my friend said, they all peaked. So episode 10, Make It Stop. I love how like in TV shows we sort of like get to explore that backstory of like different characters. We have the time to do that. Luthen's sacrifice, I honestly did not see that coming. Focus is probably a word that I would definitely use to like characterize Clea. Like, she's just so... Okay, and then episode 11, when they took Clea eventually to Yavin.
Okay, I need to make a confession.
I usually never fast forward or skip anything, but this episode I fast forwarded so many times, just like by 5 seconds, because like when they went to rescue Clea, it was just so, the tension, it was just so nerve-wracking that I just had to like fast forward and just know that she's okay at the end, because like she's not in Rogue One. We don't know where she's gonna end up being, and the show just made me, through those few episodes of like exploring her character, just made me care about like Clea so much. When Clea was not willing to go to Yavin and then they were convincing her to go, I was just like, please just go. Okay, and then the last episode, the finale, there wasn't like groundbreaking action or like groundbreaking plot points, but I just loved how the most loose ends were tied, and like we get to see where most like central characters end up being. I was like content with what we had. I mean, I would like to see more of Mon Mothma's life on Yavin, and her with Vel, and her with these other people, and it's just generally more Mon Mothma, but it's fine. And then we also get to see where Dedra ended up. I don't know if I should feel bad for her. Obviously, I do not condone any of her actions. People she killed, the people she used, but she was also like just, you know, a pawn who the Empire did not ultimately care at all about. And the last thing I have to say about the finale is I just love the aspect of friendship and camaraderie in Andor. One of my favorite tropes, if you will, is found family, and I feel like they sort of are, in a way, they sort of are found family, the rebels. We see these 5 women at the center of it all, how they are fighting their own rebellion. So like for Clea, it's like sort of like, these aren't like my takes on them, it's like sort of coming to terms with trusting and also having friends everywhere. I love the quote, I have friends everywhere. I'm gonna start saying that. Like if people from now on like ask me if I know someone, I'm just gonna say I have friends everywhere. And then for Mon, it's like using her voice and finally making her own decisions. And then Vel and Cinta, of course, it shows like the loss and sacrifice for resistance. For Bix, it's like more of like self-empowerment, I guess, and then also like fighting for herself, saving herself. Okay, and then finally, is that the last thing I want to talk about, please? Yeah, and finally I'm gonna just gonna wrap this all up really quickly with my favorite quote from Andor. First of all, this show contains so many like amazing speeches and monologues. Luthen's speech in the elevator to Lonnie, not speech, like monologue, like I burn my decencies for someone else's future. These like metaphors,
It's so fitting.
Marva's speech, there was like such determination and dauntlessness during that speech, and it's also like sort of ironic and interesting how like her death awakens. Also Nemik's manifesto, it's like so well written. There's like so many like juxtapositions in there that also like instill hope. It's like authority and brittle, oppression and fear, and we're like shown these things when we see the ISB. We see these contradictions. And then Mon's speech, of course, the death of truth is ultimate victory of evil. I knew her potential. I knew that she would use her voice, and I believed in her courage, but I was still like taken aback when she actually like called Monster Palpatine out so explicitly at the end. Also that little moment between Cassian to Nia, like you're coming home to yourself, you've become more than you fear, and I feel like that's also really encouraging and sweet. On that note, it's time to say see you. Here's what I have so far. Not gonna pretend that I'm that fast of a painter, but kind of like that right now. Thank you for once again listening to my ramblings. I've seen people wearing this shirt more than once, like this exact same shirt. So yeah, I guess the frontier of the Star Wars fandom is also everywhere, and I have friends everywhere. I will see you when I see you.